Hey guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Second Lieutenant Brock Pereira, and this is going to be the first video of a series that kind of gives an outline of the pipeline that a civilian can take, a college graduate can take, in order to commission as a second lieutenant in the United States Army. This video is specifically going to be about basic training, so if you're ROTC or if you're currently already in the Army, then this might not apply to you, and you can look at my other videos following this video. There'll be about OCS specific video and a BOLC specific video. Or if you're just an enlisted person or looking to enlist, this video might be beneficial to you because I'm just going to outline basic in general. So a little bit about myself. I am currently a second lieutenant that commissioned through OCS on February 11th. 2022, so I actually haven't been a second lieutenant that long, so all this is still pretty fresh in my mind. I'm a 17 Bravo, or that's what I'm going for to BOLC for, which is a cyber electronic warfare officer, a part of the overall cyber branch. So like I said, this video is going to be specifically about basic training, so let me hop right into it. So this is going to be your general pipeline if you are interested in becoming an officer in the United States Army. And like I mentioned before, this is going to be for college graduates who have a degree, whether it be a bachelor's, master's, PhD. They didn't go through ROTC. So you're going to be known as a 09 Sierra. That's your temporary MOS. That's your job classification up until you commission. So for starters, you have basic training. This is assuming you already went through MEPS, you already got your paperwork in, so you're already at basic training. At basic training, you are going to be an E4. So you'll get E4 pay from the get-go, which is I think around $2,300 as of 2022. And basic training is 10 weeks and is split up into 3 phases. After you graduate basic training, you'll then go to Officer Candidate School, or OCS, at Fort Benning. Here you'll be promoted to a sergeant and you'll start receiving E5 pay. OCS is 12 weeks long and it's separated into 3 phases. Finally, when you commission, you'll be a second lieutenant receiving O1 pay, and then depending on your branch, you will then go to BOLC. I can speak about this later, but basically at OCS, you are competitively fighting for your branch, and that is determined by an OML, which is an ordered merit list, and depending on where you rank on that list through physical events, tests, things like that, you are ordered, and then you give a top, I think it's like 16 preference lists. Fortunately for myself, I am a cyber officer, or I'm going to be a cyber officer, so I actually did not have to go through that process. It kind of exists with outside the OML, but traditionally you're going to be fighting for it. So let's continue on to basic training specifically. So basic training is split up into, is a 10-week course overall, and is split up into 3 phases. You have red phase, white phase, and blue phase. So I joined in 2021 where COVID was still kind of at its height. So this is actually a little bit different than what I did. My first week at basic training was actually considered yellow phase, and we had a quarantine, which meant that we weren't allowed to really interact with any of the other platoons. I'm not sure if it changed now, so I kind of just lumped yellow phase in with red phase, and that's why you have the red box with the yellow around it. But I'm just going to label it as 4 weeks. And then white phase is 3 weeks, and blue phase is also 3 weeks. So red phase is probably the most physically demanding of the phases. You're getting smoked, they're putting you into positions where you're physically and mentally stressed. But it's also, in my opinion, the most interesting, and I had the best time there. I made a lot of friends. I got to do the cooler things that I consider at basic, things like Victory Tower, Fit to Win, Confidence Course, ACFT, 6 Mile Ruck, the Hammer, And then the white phase is all about marksmanship and weapon familiarization. So you have, marksman qualification with the iron sights, CCOs, you have another ACFT, the 9-mile ruck, the Anvil, land nav. And then in blue phase, the last 3 weeks is where it kind of gets a little bit more boring, but you also have some pretty cool things. You have the intercourse testing, you have the grenade range, 12-mile ruck, the forge, Nick at night, I guess is what people refer to it as, but that's a night infiltration course. We got to use sim rounds. I'm not sure if everyone gets to use that. And then we have the gas chamber. So red phase, like I mentioned, is possibly 4 weeks. Our red phase was 3 weeks, and then we had a 1 week of yellow phase. So when you get to red phase, it's the most physically demanding phase out of all of them, in my opinion. The first 72 hours are going into basic training. I was, a weightlifter. I was physically fit. I was running, a 12-minute, 2-mile. I was in shape. But even still, the first 72 hours were pretty physically demanding. I have a little journal that I was writing in throughout my time at basic, and if I recall correctly, I think we were getting smoked or, doing PT for, 12 hours a day. That includes, push-ups, you're running around the track, you're doing PT in the morning, you're doing mountain climbers, you're getting smoked. They're trying to push you to your limits to kind of set the tone. We also went to the beach quite often, and the beach is when the drill instructors take sand, dump it all in your bay or where you sleep, pour water and make you crawl around in it and do like PT inside the bay. So red phase, some advice I have is start making friends here. Kind of put yourself out there. Everyone's going to be in the same boat as you. People are, sucking the suck. So, rely on your friends to get through this, the first 72 hours. My advice is to fly under the radar but succeed in PT. Don't try to stand out necessarily. Some people might disagree, but I found that the people who flew under the radar but were still successful in PT kind of earned the favor of the drill instructors. During the first 72 hours, we had a lot of people quit. You're going to see a lot of that. People say, I can't do this, I want to go home. Try not to be that person because it earns you right off the get-go, you're starting off poorly. Everyone's going through it. Hundreds, thousands of people have gone through this before you. You can do it. Just make sure you're, sucking the suck and embracing it. It's only 72 hours. During this time, you're going to bed at like 12 and you're waking up at 3. You're getting minimum hours of sleep. I think they have to give you some by doctrine. I think they have to give you a certain amount of sleep. Whether or not I follow that, I'm not sure. I just know the first 72 hours we're only getting 3 hours of sleep and we're getting smoked like no one's business. That aside, our first major event that you're going to experience during red phase is going to be Victory Tower. This is where you rappel down the wall, and this is kind of you're not really learning how to rappel. That's not the point really of these exercises. The point of these exercises like Victory Tower is to kind of help you get over your fears and kind of familiarize you with what you might see in the future. A lot of people are afraid of heights, so this was a big step for them, but that's the whole point of it, is to build confidence so you can actually succeed in the Army. As 09 Sierras, or officer candidates, we were kind of given a little bit, we were told to go first and then we were told to help out. So we went first, we did our rappelling, and then we helped with the other people. We helped set up their harnesses, things like that. Next, another event we did was a confidence course. This was a really easy course. It's really slow paced because you have to wait for everyone to finish. But it's the same thing as Victory Tower. It's really just meant to help you gain confidence and to kind of expose you to the life of the Army and things that you might find within the Army. It's not too hard. Some people fail, some people don't. It's not a do or die thing. There might be a standard. I don't think any of us actually failed the standard, or if we did, I don't think our drills really cared. Try to succeed and push yourself, but it's not a big deal if you're struggling. Fit to Win was a competition where we picked, I think, like 4 guys, 4 girls, or 3 guys, 3 girls, and then you go through a obstacle course. You're crawling through mud, you're doing monkey bars, you're vaulting over walls, things like that. It's a competition between platoons, so it can get really fun, it can get really intense. Another really fun time at basic. The ACFT, as of I think April 1st, 2022, the ACFT standards have changed. When I went in, you had to pass the ACFT by the end of the cycle, or else you would get recycled to a different phase. So the first ACFT you take, it doesn't count towards anything. You're not getting any points. It's just for your own reference. Like, hey, I need to get better at planks. I need to get better at the 2 mile. I would recommend trying to do as best as you can, because as I mentioned before, the people who succeeded in PT kind of earned the favor of the drill instructors, and you kind of got more leeway with other things, and you kind of got away with a lot more things, and kind of I felt, because I was pretty good at PT, my first ACFT score was I think like a 575 or something like that, and my drill instructors were impressed, and from that point on, I was in 4th platoon. They were really lenient with me. I kind of got away with more things than I probably should have. The 6 mile ruck, I think it's a 6 mile ruck. It might be a 4 mile ruck. I might be getting this confused with OCS. But so your first ruck is 4 to 6 miles, and you're rucking to your first like overall event, which is called the hammer. But basically, it's a formation ruck. You have your M4, you have your carrier, name slipping off my head, but so you have your ammo, you have, I think it's like 35 pounds dry, and you're rucking 4 to 6 miles. I'll make videos specifically on the ACFT and rucking specifically, and kind of my advice for that. But for now, I'll just kind of give a general overview. Just make sure you're keeping care of your feet. The first ruck's going to be hard. Listen to your drill instructors. They'll probably give you some tips and like pointers on how to walk, how to carry your ruck, things like that. Next is the hammer, which is kind of your first field training exercise. It's 1 night, 2 days, I believe. And for us, we didn't really do anything special. I think we kind of just rucked there, stayed the night, and then left, if I recall. But you know what? We actually, the hammer for us, I think it was raining really bad, so we really didn't get to experience it to its full extent. We actually had to ruck back to our barracks area, and we actually slept outside. But it's supposed to be 1 night, 2 days. You're pulling security, which, if you don't know that vernacular, it's basically you're just setting a perimeter and you're pulling security. At basic training, I think you do like 50% to 66% security, where you're with a partner, you dig foxholes, and one person sleeps for an hour, then wakes up, the other person sleeps for an hour, wakes up. It's exhausting. I think you only usually get around 3 to 4 hours of sleep a night. In the morning, you have to do your hygiene, you shave on the field, or in the field, you wipe yourself down. I think you're supposed to do lanes or go over like reactive fire, but we didn't. And then basically that's all that there's in red phase. So for red phase, just overall, as an officer candidate, I don't think you'll have too much trouble. You're going to be a little bit more mature than your counterparts, hopefully. You should be a little bit more physically in shape. So as long as you remain positive, you make friends, whatever, it doesn't tend to be too hard. And like I said, I enjoyed the challenge. I enjoyed the PT every day, even if we were getting smoked. But overall, it wasn't too bad. Then white phase was also a really great phase for me, in my opinion. It's all about marksman qualification and weapon familiarization. So this is when you're given the M4, you learn how to disassemble it, reassemble it, you learn how to do weapons maintenance, and then you actually go on the range and do live firing. So the first week, I think, is, if I recall correctly, you kind of do either virtual reality shooting, you use zero, which means that you kind of zero your sights to make sure they're shooting correctly, things like that. I think the minimum when you actually get to the range you need to hit to pass is 23, and the maximum being 40, and then depending on how many you actually shoot, you get certain I guess qualifiers. So for example, if you shoot like 23 to 29 targets, you are given the marksmanship badge or marksman badge. 30 to 35 you're given the sharpshooter badge, and then expert you're given 36 to 40. If I recall correctly, the shooting curriculum is you shoot once standing up at a target 25 meters away, unsupported. Then you shoot 9 unsupported prone. It ranges from like 50, 100, 300, something like that. Then you go into prone supported. Same thing, you shoot 10, reload. Then you go into crouch supported, shoot 10, and then you go into standing supported, shoot 10. So for officers, you actually don't wear the qualification medal on your ASUs or AGSUs. So I guess it really doesn't matter besides your own self-interest or like self-pride. And you're qualifying with both iron sight and CCO. During this time, they'll teach you how to shoot, with your iron sights and CCO. I won't go into it, but you'll have classes on how to properly hold the weapon, how to look through the sights, things like that. During white phase, you also do LANAV. It's a pretty rudimentary form of LANAV. You're in teams of 4, and you have 4 hours to find 5 points. They'll teach you how to read a map. They'll teach you how to use a protractor. But this is pretty fun. It's pretty relaxed. I think we only found 1 point, mostly because we were kind of just, fooling around. We didn't really take it too seriously. But if you want to learn how to do LANAV, I think this is a good starting point, especially if you're trying to prepare for OCS. Finally, we had our accumulating event, which started with a 9-mile ruck. Same thing, you're in a formation ruck, you're carrying your M4s. During this, you'll take breaks. You'll maybe have a couple of 15-minute breaks where you're pulling security on the side of the road or something like that. And then you ruck to what's called the Anvil, which is another FTX. It's 2 days, or I think it's either 2 nights, 3 days, or 2 nights, 2 days. In this, we did lanes. We dug our foxholes, pulled security for the first night and second, during the nights. But during the day, we did weapon maintenance. We did reactive fire. We got introduced to lanes. We did I'm up, they see me, I'm down, things like that. And if you're not familiar with I'm up, they see me, I'm down, is basically you stand up, you run a little bit, then you get down. It's a way to, you're bounding basically. And then finally you're into blue phase, which is 3 weeks. This is where things are significantly easier in my opinion, and honestly a little boring. Supposedly this is a phase where they get rid of mass punishment. We were still getting mass punished frequently. It's less physically demanding, and like I said, it's kind of boring. You're just doing a lot of waiting around. You do CIF turn in, you're cleaning the bays, you're kind of waiting to do a lot of the events. So this is where people can get in trouble because they find themselves bored. So end of course testing, EOCT, is where you'll go to a certain place, I forget where, and they'll actually test you on your knowledge that you've learned throughout the cycle. So things like LANAV, how to read a medical, do you know how to do a tourniquet, M4 familiarization, do you know how to disassemble, assemble, do you know parts of a weapon, chain of command, 9-line. things like that they're going to be testing you on. It's pretty easy. I don't think anyone failed. I don't think they really let you fail. I think if you fail once, your drill instructor will basically tell you the answer and you just go back and redo it. We also got to do the grenade range, which in my opinion wasn't very fun. It was, I guess, interesting, but you throw a grenade and that's it. They teach you how to throw a grenade, you pull the pin, and then you throw it, you get down, and then boom. Building up to it, I thought it was going to be cooler than it was, but in my opinion, it wasn't very cool. Then you have the gas chamber, which I thought was pretty fun. You put on your gas mask, you learn how to, don the gas mask. You learn how to do like things regarding chemical, and then you get sent into the gas chamber, and they tell you to take off your mask, take a deep breath, and then you get sent out. I think because of COVID, they reduced the potency of the gas, and I'm not sure what gas they use, but tear gas, whatever it is. So I was able to take my mask off and just keep breathing, and there was a little discomfort, but it was not nearly as bad as what I've seen in videos. Maybe they'll change that for you when you're going through basic, but it's interesting. And when you get out, you're supposed to flap your arms, and you see people throw up, but I didn't think it was too bad. But it was it was pretty fun, interesting experience to say the least. You'll also do a night infiltration course, which is termed or coined Nick at Night. This is where they shoot, I think it's 240 Bravos above you, and you kind of crawl like you're, I don't know, Normandy or something. You're like storming the beach. You crawl while flares are going up. They're shooting the 240s over you. They have artificial grenades being detonated, things like that. It was pretty fun, I guess. You got really sandy. And then finally you have the accumulating event, which is preceded by the 12-mile ruck, and it's called the Forge. It's 3 nights, 3 days. You do lanes, weapon maintenance. You get to use night vision, which the novelty wears out really quick, but I guess night vision was pretty cool when you first use it. If you've never used it before, I recommend looking up at the stars. You can see a lot more than you normally can on a clear night. But same thing, you're pulling security, you're running through lanes, how to react to fire, things like that. Our Forge is pretty easy. I think maybe like 50% of the time we were just sleeping, because I think at this point our drill instructors kind of just gave up and were like, just do what you want. So we had a really easy Forge. The ruck back though really messed up people's feet, and it was difficult if you're not used to it. I had a difficult time, but another event you do during blue phase is buddy team live fire, and it's when you have a partner and you run through lanes. You kind of approach, go through shooting prone, you crawl forward, you find other things, other barriers you shoot, and you're all doing this live with a partner. It was pretty fun, I guess. So overall, blue phase was supposed to be what got people really excited. For me personally, I didn't really enjoy it as much as I did red phase. I thought the events like using the grenade, the gas chamber, buddy team live fire were kind of overrated. But I guess if you've never experienced something like that, they can be really interesting and really cool. Some other notes, especially for you 09 Sierras, is make sure you keep your bearing through this whole time. The drills are not your friend. It's easy to forget to stand at the position of attention or parade rest. Make sure you're constantly doing that and you're learning proper etiquette, because at OCS they're going to expect you to know that, and if you don't, you can really hurt yourself on the OML. Bay etiquette, you're living with 60 other people, so try to stay low key and try not to start any fights. We had a couple of fights in our bay. Nothing came of it, but it's really distracting and it can hurt morale. During basic, they have things called platoon sergeants, and they're supposed to emulate real life or real army platoon sergeants, and they're like pick a student and they kind of lead the platoon for a week, for cycle, whatever. Our drills didn't pick any 09 Sierras for that exact reason. He wanted the future enlisted men and women to get the chance to get that experience. Mass punishment sucks. You're supposed to keep your buddies in check, make sure they're doing the right thing, and I think that's the point, is to make sure they're keeping accountability for each other. It's pretty hard to fail basic, in my opinion. You know, they give you so many chances. I think the only people that actually failed and got recycled were, you know, due to disciplinary actions, or a lot of people failed because the ACFT, by the last ACFT, the one that matters, they couldn't do a leg tuck. You know, now that the leg tuck's gone, I don't think there's going to be as many ACFT failures. Chow can be rough. They're supposed to give you, I think, at least 10 minutes by doctrine. You know, there was times where we got 3 minutes. So just make sure you're eating, and you're eating well, and you're going to learn to love breakfast. You're going to learn to love chow. Social aspect, as an 09 Sierra, I kind of felt like I was back in high school. I felt that a lot of the people in basic were a little immature. And the social aspect for me was by far the worst thing about basic. It kind of felt there was a lot of gossiping. There was a lot of, you know, just high school tendencies that people displayed. If you can get over that, then I don't think you'll have a bad time. Just be aware that, you know, a lot of these people just graduated high school, and for the most part, you're dealing with, you know, 18 to 20-year-olds who haven't had that time to mature. Another big thing is fraternization. Don't do it. You know, writing love letters, things like that. We had a lot of people get caught for that, and it's just like, it's 10 weeks. You can go without flirting for 10 weeks. And finally, especially for the 09 Sierras, ask questions. Your drills, you know, at the appropriate time, but your drills are a great resource. They might not necessarily know too much about the officer route or the officer life, but they'll know, you know, things about engineering, infantry, signal, cyber, quartermaster, things like that. Because at this point, you don't have a branch yet. You're just an 09 Sierra. You don't get your branch until, you know, OCS. So this is your time to kind of figure out, hey, what do I want to do? You know, which branch am I considering? Things like that. So just to end this video, I'm going to kind of talk about a little bit about, you know, what it's like specifically as an officer at basic. You know, I made a lot of friends with the other 09 Sierras, and I think that's mostly due to the, you know, shared maturity. For the most part, we're all mature, and I think people also look up to you, so make sure you try to guide your fellow soldiers in the right direction. It'll be a good exercise for leadership, and it's just in general, you just be a good person, and you'll succeed easy. Make sure you start thinking about your branch. I know during basic, I was really gunning for engineering. I was really interested in engineering, doing high-speed things. You know, I want to do sapper school, ranger school, airborne school. You know, I was asking so many questions. I was interested in infantry. You know, I was entertaining doing all these different types of branches. And then by the time I was at OCS, I was able to kind of whittle it down to cyber, which, you know, is a lot different from engineering or infantry, but, you know, it was a process. Overall, I don't think basic was too hard. It was 10 weeks, you know, you got to use your phone we got to use it for 30 minutes every Sunday. You know, every Sunday was a reset day. People went to church, we cleaned the bays, we hung out, there was no PT. But it wasn't too bad. I think overall, you know, between basic training and OCS, I think I actually might have enjoyed basic training a little bit more. OCS was a little bit more boring, and I found myself kind of understanding the bureaucracy of the Army more. But overall, I think if you put your, you know, 100% in basic, you'll get a lot out of it, and it'll prepare you for your time in the Army. So that's going to end this video. My next video is going to be on OCS specifically. And then my following video will be on BOLC. I might do some videos on rucking, maybe some on LANav. If you have any questions about cyber, or I have friends who are signal officers, engineering officers, I have friends who are reserve, I have friends who are active. You know, if you have any questions, I can reach out to other people. My roommates right now are both ROTC guys. So if you have any questions, just let me know and I'll try to do my best to get you those resources. Thank you.